Hello there, I'm Jawker, and welcome to part 2 of my Druid Fundamentals series. In the first one, we covered the tech and tricks of the hero, and in this one we'll be going into arguably the most important part of Druid's game, the laning phase. My approach to this guide will be through showcasing a blueprint for your laning phase that you can reliably follow every single game of Druid with guaranteed success. I'll go over the blueprint and provide a tier list of every mid lane matchup and how it changes the execution of this strategy that I like referring to as the 5-minute timing. At the 5-minute mark, the first catapult wave spawns, and with it, Druid generally hits his first power spike where he's actually threatening, through a combination of hitting his item timings and getting level 5, which allows him to get a double root. The goal of this strategy is to dive the enemy mid laner as the catapult wave crashes into their tower to put them into a lose-lose situation. If the enemy mid laner isn't careful, they'll die and you take the tower. If the enemy mid laner is careful, they'll be zoned out of their farm and their tower will lose at least half its HP. And if the enemy supports rotate, the side lanes will suffer and your catapult will still be taking half the enemy tower's HP. Plus, you're very capable of having a 1v2 against a lot of supports in this game. So by combining Druid's level 5 power spike with the catapult wave, we hit a timing that is generally just unfair to play against for the vast majority of mid laners. You just have to be careful of the nefarious 5 people in your lane at 5 minutes. That does happen sometimes because you're playing Druid and this hero kind of has like a global taunt on the enemy team. Not much you can do. So prior to level 5, your only goal is creating as much of a lead as you possibly can through last hits and denies, only harassing the enemy when you're preparing them for their impending doom at 5 minutes. You want to use your bear to secure one roto rune while your hero secures the other, and you want to keep your blades of attack on the main hero to keep your bear healthy. The name of the game here is denies. Your hero is not the lane dominator that he used to be in the past, but he still has high damage and good animations, which means you can get a ton of denies. The checklist for being ready to dive is as follows. A healthy bear that you can dive with, resummon it if needed or ideally heal it up manually in the jungle, a blood grenade, phase boots, and an optional orb of frost on the bear, a decent sized wave crashing into the enemy tower with a catapult. If your wave is dying too quickly, try to stall it until your next wave comes because you don't want the catapult to crash with only one creep because then it's going to die. Now, when it comes to execution, it gets quite tricky and you're guaranteed to mess it up a few times and feed, but that's just part of the learning process, so don't sweat it. The main things to think about when diving are when do you skill up and whether you hard commit to the kill or not. The first question can have a few different variables, but generally you skill up in 3 contexts. The bear is too low and is about to die, so you skill up to resummon it and continue pressuring. The bear just tanked a stun, slow, or a banish, so you resummon it to secure the kill. The bear just rooted, so you resummon it to get a double root and secure the kill. The double root is the ideal situation, and the other 2 are just situations that you have to adapt to. Sometimes these things can collide with each other in a perfect way. When you get confident, you can, for example, hit a root, dispel a stun, and heal the bear all in one resummon if you're patient enough. And when it comes to committing, this can also have many variables, but generally speaking, your commitment depends almost entirely on enemy support rotations. You do not need to kill the enemy mid laner for this to be successful. You simply need to get good tower damage and zone them from XP and farm. If you anticipate people TPing or see them TPing, there is no need to hard commit. You can focus on getting tower damage instead and simply zoning the enemy mid laner. In some contexts, you can also go for 1v2s quite reliably. This timing has no way of actually failing if executed properly, as every scenario is positive for the Druid's team. If you dive with your level 5 timing, kill the enemy and take his tower, that's the ideal situation. If you dive, fail to kill the enemy, but you make them miss a lot of farm and you take their tower, that's also great. And if you dive and the enemy immediately reacts, now you force the rotation and you can either go for the 1v2 or just go back and farm. In every context, your goal is achieved, which is making the enemy mid laner lose farm and XP and weakening their tower. After this play, you actually have another power spike at level 7 where you can attempt another double root kill. After that, you just get Diffusal and continue to be aggressive with that timing. And now, as the final segment, here is a showcase of every mid matchup separated into categories based on how you'll approach them with this strategy. It's quite self-explanatory, so feel free to just pause here. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see this strategy in action, make sure to join my Discord to know when I'm live on Twitch. And if you end up executing it yourself and want to show it off, make sure to post it on the Discord, because I'd love to see other people executing this strategy. Enjoy the 1 lanes. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye!
From 6 minutes in to 8 minutes, he got 2 last hits. 2. That's pretty fucked up.